All right, I'll call to order tonight's regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council and the Successor Housing Agency to Redevelopment Agency and the Successor Agency to the Redevelopment Agency, City Council, City of Yuba City. This meeting is being held in the council chambers, which are open for public attendance and participation. The meeting will also be live streamed for public viewing but not participation at the link identified in the agenda. Emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting were distributed to the city council prior to tonight's meeting. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kirchner?
Here.
Councilmember Boomgarden?
Here.
Councilmember Espandola? Councilmember Harris?
Here.
All right. Mr. Chaffin, would you please read our closed session agenda tonight?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. We have 3 items for closed session. Item A is confer with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. The property public utility easement on ABN 23-11007 is located on the east side of Garden Highway at Stewart Road on 2700 Garden Highway, Yuba City, California 95991. The negotiator is Diana Langley, city manager. Negotiating parties are Michael Dennis Netherby and Ann Sheely Netherby. Under negotiation is price and terms of payment. Item B is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency designated representatives are Diana Langley, the city manager, Jesse Alexander, fire chief, Natalie Springer, human resources director, Brad McIntyre, community services director, Spencer Morrison, finance director, and Michael Jarvis, Lieber Cassidy, and Whitmore. The employee organization is Firefighters Local 3793. Item C is conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government 54956.8. The properties are APN 57-150-01, 51-150-050, 57-220-065. Those are generally located on the south side of Walton Avenue, between 211 and 217 Walton Avenue, and at the address set forth in your agenda. The negotiator is Diana Langley, city manager. Negotiating parties are Habitat for Humanity, and under negotiation is the price and terms of payment.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Hearing none, we will move into closed session. All right. We'll call to order tonight's meeting. This is the regular city council meeting and the successor housing agency to the redevelopment agency and the successor agency to the redevelopment agency. This meeting is being held in the council chambers, which are open to the public for attendance and participation. The meeting is also will be live streamed for public viewing, but not participation at the link identified in the agenda. Emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours prior to tonight's meetings were distributed to the city council prior to tonight. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kirchner?
Here.
Councilmember Boomgarden?
Here.
Councilmember Espandola?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
All right. We will have tonight's invocation by Chaplain Bob Fischetti, and then that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by our own Fire Chief, Alexander. If everyone would please stand.
I'd just like to say thank you to the council for inviting me to do this. I consider it an honor to get to pray for those that are in positions of responsibility and make such hard decisions oftentimes. And so with your permission, I'd just like to pray for the wisdom of God on all of you. Father, I just thank you because you're faithful to us. You've been faithful to this city, and you've done so many wonderful and incredible things. You've brought people together at times of deep need and stress. I thank you for these council members. I thank you for their lives and their families. And I ask that you bless them, put your hand upon them. Grant that they would have wisdom beyond their years, that they would be able to make decisions, wise decisions, beyond their own understanding. And I just thank you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. All right, Mr. Chaffin, will you report out of closed session, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action taken in closed session. I would like the record to reflect that Councilmember Espandola was present at 5:09 p.m. and fully participated in all closed session items. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there any agenda reorganization by the council, or is it good to go? All right. We will go straight into the fun stuff, our ceremonial presentations. And tonight, the first one is Native American Heritage Month. We have a proclamation. I'd like Mr. Craig Marcus, who's the tribal administrator, and I would like the tribal counselor for the Estamwada Maidu tribe to join us down front.
Very good.
Many times. Come right on in. Long for some of you guys. I see, this is one of those, just don't push me out front. I'm good. You know, it's, I've had the privilege to get to know many of you guys over the last several years, especially this last year. And what you guys have done for our community and the whole hub area has been tremendous. So before we read this, I just want to say thank you. I've also come to the understanding and appreciation about Native American heritage. We've broken bread and talked about it and have a little bit of that in my past, but not near enough to join up with you guys. So we'll just leave it at that. We won't talk about those conversations, nor John Cassidy. So with that, let me get this to break. It's the cookies. It's all birthday boys' faults, cookies. All right, Native American Heritage Month, November 2022. Whereas the Native American Heritage Month has been established at the national and state levels with proclamations and celebrations to recognize the diverse cultures, tradition, history, significant contributions, and present-day lives of Native Americans. And whereas Native American people make significant contributions in many fields, including academics, agriculture, astronomy, art, business, education, ecology, engineering, environmentalism, economics, forestry, government, irrigation systems, language, leadership, literature, mathematics, medicine, military, music, politics, poetry, science, and traditional cultures. You just said in life. Whereas we also honor our Native American veterans and service members who have courageously served and continue to serve in our armed forces, including the brave Native American Code Talkers in World War I and World War II. For over 200 years, Native Americans have defended our country during every major conflict and continued to serve at a higher rate than any other ethnic group in the nation. Because of their selflessness, every generation of Americans receives the precious gift of liberty, and we owe each of them and their families a debt of gratitude for their sacrifice and dedication. And whereas Native American roots are deeply embedded in this land, we honor the precious, strong, and enduring cultures and contributions of all Native Americans and recommit ourselves to fulfilling the full promise of our nation together. And whereas the city of Yuba City encourages its citizens to acknowledge and celebrate November as Native American Heritage Month to foster education, relationships, and cooperation with Native people, with also supporting social and economic opportunities for them. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Dave Shaw, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim November 2022 Native American Heritage Month and urge all residents to learn more about the cultures, people, tradition, and values that have positively enriched our community.
Tribal Council. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My privilege to introduce the Tribal Council to you, which, by the way, their ancestors were the council here for about 10,000 years previous, so they have a little bit of experience. But we have our honorable chairwoman, Glenda Nelson, Cindy Smith, who is the Tribal Council Secretary, Crystal Gilbert, Member at Large, Armida Rosales, Member at Large and an Elder, Don Rodriguez, Member at Large, Thomas Lozano, Tribal Council Treasurer, and Greg Boreen, the Vice Chairman. He's also a vet. So, Glenda?
Well, it's really a pleasure to be here. I don't know if that's working or not, but I can. Okay, I can talk loud enough anyway. It is, and we are very grateful for the recognition, and we are extremely supportive of this community. We have been here forever, and we've always told you we will be here, and we will provide economic development and equal opportunity for all citizens. And we do have a preference in hiring out at Hard Rock Hotel and Casino for Yuba County residents, and I'm sure, you know, with Sutter too. And I know the Sutter, Yuba, and Yuba City, and Sutter, and I know you guys all. Yeah.
Yuba City, we want
Yeah. But anyway, it really is about a team effort. And we as tribal council are kind of notorious for saying there's no I in team. This is what we do together to make a better future for all of our children and our grandchildren, and to honor our elders here. So thank you so much. We really are privileged to be a part of this community, and we really like to see all of you here participating in your government. It's just great to see all of you out here.
Let's give them a round of applause. George, you want us up on the back, or you want us kind of?
That would be great. Yes.
Okay, if you guys will stay here, the council's going to go up behind you. So.
When you have five women on council, see what happens?
All right. Slide on in, gents. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thanks for letting us in.
We have a dinner that we have to be to, so we're going to be leaving.
I was informed.
Thank you so much. That was really nice.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. See you.
Hi, thank you guys.
All right. We'll move along to presentation number 2, which is Mr. McIntyre, and it's an update on Sam Brannan Park.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to update you on our Sam Brannan improvements. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Brad McIntyre, Community Services Director. Thanks for the opportunity to update you on our Sam Brannan Park and improvement of facilities. We are currently going to talk about the coated gate, which is in, our sports lighting, security lighting, our anti-climbing fence, which we talked a little bit about last time, and what that looks like, our new restrooms. So the new code entry gate is in. It works. Talking to users right now, and you'll see a slide here in a little bit as far as the amount of complaints or concerns that we are currently having at Sam Brannan. So at this time, we don't feel there is a need to implement the gate as far as the coded gate, but I anticipate at some point it will be needed. So that's the good news. We inserted new lighting. You can see on the square there, highlight on the left, that was the new type of lighting that our current electrician for the city inserted. And we've received a lot of positive feedback. We talked about the anti-climbing fence. Again, we are still out just due to the economics and the waiting for materials and supplies. So we're still about 2 months out. And that would be surrounding the skate park and on the exterior of the pickleball courts to the north. New restrooms, we are about, I think I was here telling you it'd be in around this time. It is a 6-month delay. Again, waiting for materials and supplies and for it to be delivered. But we will start destruction demo of it if it stays the way it's supposed to around March of 2023, and then to be installed in June of 2023 as well. We've done some statistics based on police calls to that facility from May 12th to October 24th. The reason why we took these two dates was that it was based on when we started putting security out there. You can see there was 152 calls during this time. Those are the different types of calls that were received that I'm not going to read it to you. Well, maybe I should because I know from that world they can't see. So out of the 152 calls, you had disturbance calls, transient calls, medical aid, security checks, suspicious welfare checks, health and safety, and one individual had to be removed. Since we've had security, on the average calls per week, it was about 15 that PD was having to respond to San Brannan Park. Since we've had security, we are now right with about 6 to 7 calls per week. So certainly saving time from our police officers to do other things as well. So we have our precision security Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 11:30. I'll talk about the variables here in a little bit, but the average cost, we started with 3 days a week, and then we escalated to 5. So based on those numbers there, you can see that if we stayed with that, it would be about $44,400 a year. Staff and council, council increase our budget for that line item by $18,000. If we stay with the same security amount of allocated time, we would approximately go over budget by about $13,400. But however, I think there's going to be some variables coming in there. People are playing less pickleball as it gets colder. And certainly we've talked to the contractor and that we have the ability now on a day-by-day basis to be able to pull them, for example, if it's just a high wind or a lot of rain. So we anticipate certainly, and we're hoping for weather for a lot of other variety of reasons as well. So the options are to hear council's thoughts on reducing services. Instead of maybe going 5 days a week, we go down to 3. Or we do a mid-year budget analyze it, and make any adjustments in March. And because certainly by March, we anticipate there will be more of a predictable need for security based on the weather. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Is there any questions or comments from the council on this presentation?
I got one if I may.
Yes, sir.
Brad, has the security company by chance tracked or monitored or paid attention to any perhaps folks that who have been there who may have otherwise created problems that they were able to prevent in their estimation?
I think the answer is yes, but as far as being able to track that, I can find that out and get back to you.
That would, if that's not too much to ask, that would play into our decision to whether reduce services or not.
Okay. Sure can.
Thank you.
Yes, great.
Mr. Mayor, thanks, Dave. Haven't been to playing pickleball lately, but you do like pickleball. It's a great court to go and do that. So all the modifications that the city's made is looking really good. I do like the idea of being able to remove some of the extra security on a day-by-day basis, depending on weather conditions. That's a good recommendation. Councilmember Harris, for myself, been out there several times. I have noticed that the security does intervene in really easy situations where possibly it differs from police having to come in, but the police has been very responsive to when they need to be there present as well. I know from the pickleball community and other park users, it has been nicely welcome to have the security there. It has made a huge difference in the environment of the security. I do think that perhaps reevaluating and seeing, those changes of conditions, if the cost will go down with the security. I would be curious to know, because of the security, was there a cost savings for staffing of policing to be there, because that kind of would balance some of that expense. Because if you pull a police officer from another potential call that could be, and so just trying to kind of gauge that, if there's ways to see if there's been a reduction of the police activities. You said 14 to 7, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, for what period was that? Oh,
Between May
to
12th and October
Okay.
24th.
Yeah. So there's a cost savings in just, in that piece right there.
And I can speak for the parks crew as far as we've had less vandalism, less irrigation repairs, because there's more of a presence of removing folks when it gets dark, other than the individuals that are doing that are utilizing the skate park or the pickleball courts. But no one else should be in the park, and we ask those individuals to leave really fast.
Yeah, I like the changes and the things that you've done for the park. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the council?
Through the mayor.
Vice Mayor.
A comment. Brad, I just want to shout out to the staff for grabbing us by the bull by the horns. You know, when we had the community sitting in here, showing us pictures and voicing their concerns. I'm glad that that your people and our people jumped on this as well as they did. So thank you.
You're up, brother.
Through the mayor, Brad, on the restroom, is this the type of locks on the new restroom that are remotely closed? Is that what's going to have to happen, or?
So we're hoping that they'll be remotely closed as far as, but they will be able to be locked. There'll be one stall per room, if you will, and they can lock it from the inside. So it isn't, right now there's no doors, right? And you just walk in and multiple people can be in one bathroom. So there's more of a secure for the user. And then staff has the ability to unlock it on site immediately if they need to.
The one comment I got in for the new park as well is, you know, it's sort of a nuisance attraction if those things stay open, especially in the evening hours after the parks are closed.
So to answer that question, yeah. So once the facility closes down, that is what one of the security officers do. They shut down the
They'll
bathrooms.
close it then.
Yes.
Okay. The other is in cost savings. I know through the budget presentations, I think Robert was the one that was telling us how much money was being spent on irrigation damage. So there's an offset as well.
There is.
I'm sure you don't have that quantified for us, but I would assume that it's probably substantial. Thanks.
All right, Mr. McIntyre, thank you. What the Vice Mayor said, I mean, you guys got with this, we heard from our public, and the security's definitely had a positive impact. I know I've been by several times and spoken with the security officers, and they're doing a heck of a job, so thank you. And we should anticipate probably an update, I would think sometime late January, with where we're at with the budget and the progress and stuff. Would that be about correct? Following up on this presentation, if we need to do anything with the budget or anything, January, February?
I'm questioning if that's too soon, because
Yeah, I was going to suggest March.
Okay.
we're preparing our
When we're
budget
looking at-
documents in January and February in terms of evaluating our expenses. So I agree with Mr. McIntyre, it'd either be late February or early March.
Okay, that's fine. We'll look forward to it. Thank you, Mr.
But I
McIntyre.
will get back to council regarding the questions
Okay,
before March.
all righty, thank you. All right, we will move on to agenda item 3, and that is public communication, appearance of interested citizens. You're welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on action items appearing on the consent calendar or business items on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on any other items within the scope of the city's jurisdiction, including items not listed on the agenda, will be considered at this time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be allotted 5 minutes to comment per speaker. Repetitive comments may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. We do have one written request submitted 24 hours in advance. Mr. Piara Joel, you have 5 minutes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Pierre S. Joel. I reside at 2088 Live Oak Boulevard, Yuba City. Now, I'm here again, as I have been for the last 9 months. I did have a meeting with a friend today, and after the meeting, I came up with the decision that I'm beating a dead horse. Because they're not listening, they're not doing. As my uncle said to my father one time, that, hey, you speak the truth, nobody listens to you. I lie all the time, everybody listens to me. Now, I'm going to try to go back from day one of where I started, was with the criteria. Now, Mr. Baumgartner started or created this criteria for naming the parks and so on. And yet, Mr. Sheffen comes up, and I quote, "The council does not need to follow criteria. Council can name any name and thing," end of quote. Now, if that's the case, why was that criteria created? Number two, going back at it, I saw the report Mr. McIntyre presented to the council concerning this, and he mentioned, took him about 5 minutes, and he mentioned that we cannot name the park Harder because there already is Harder Park. True. Why not any other streets? Nobody has any sense to say why not. Because they already had a name. Somebody had a name already picked. And then he goes in there and saying, hey, a member of the community came in with the name of Didar S. Baines. Well, if a member can come in, one member, what happened to the other 53,000 members of the community? Don't they have the right to say? I guess not. And then it goes on, the meeting that I had with Mr. McIntyre, Raji Tumber and I, and we talked everything just fine. At the end, it goes that Mr. McIntyre says the department usually named the park. And I said, well, not this time. Carmen Baines named the park. And he replied, yes. And when it was brought up to the meeting that the mayor, the vice mayor, and the city manager, Carmen Baines, and I sat there, when I mentioned that, Mr. Mayor said, and I quote, council picked the name. Now, if those things are true, did the council ever consider any of those things? Did you ever had the courage to ask why and how? I can assume on this side, because I wasn't there, that you did or did not. But this is what the mayor is saying. To my knowledge, it was never even brought up, either the street names or the name from any other person. Why? It's the four of you that are at fault, because you don't have the courage to do that. Now, we can keep on going of what Mr. Didar Baines did, and whatever that I have said so far is true. I promised the mayor that I will stop coming and then doing this if he can prove me that Mr. Didar Baines has given that property to the school and to the Shromni Dal Committee. Well, that's not true. It is the entity of Mr. Didar S. Baines. He owns it. The names is there. As you don't know, the Punjabi committee, when there is something with a guru's name, they worship it. They give it. But Didar never mentioned that he owned the property, and yet you believed it, and you did not have the courage to go out and find the documents. And I had those documents from back in 98 or 97, that when he bought the property and the people giving him the money, and then yet he turned around and sold it under his name. Those are all true facts, but you don't want to believe it. So again, it comes down to saying I'm beating on a dead horse. So my thing is, there's two reasons, going out there, two things. I can go, which I mentioned earlier, that many, many meetings ago, that yes, we do have attorney. But as Mr. Chapman says, hey, things like that attorneys wait for. And that's where they make the money to drive good cars. End of quote. But anyhow, I don't want to go do that as of yet. I want the public to know what is going on. Why is it going on? Or is it we to say, hey, yeah, it's politics? Well, it shouldn't be. We're doing something for the community, which you have not. That, I'm not ashamed of it. My first thing to say to my kids when they were growing up, kids, tell the truth, no matter what. So thank you for your time, and we'll see if we're going to come back in 2 weeks or not.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a
Joel.
good one.
All right, I have a card for Ms. Heather Essman. You requested to speak tonight. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, yes, my name's Heather Essman. I live off of Yuba City, the corner of Yuba City and Sanborn, which is in the city limits. Sorry. First, I wanted to thank Brad for making those improvements at the San Brennan Park, and such a quick turnaround. It's really good to know that there wasn't any pushback or any, well, we'll figure it out kind of thing. Just did it right away, and just goes to show how hard the Parks and Rec guys and gals are working. So the main reason why I'm here is because of Beat 6. So I live in Beat 6. Those of you that don't know that here, what the situation is there, it's not covered by the Yuba City Police Department. And unfortunately, it looks like the tax initiative Measure A is going to fail. If that's the case, the county has clearly made it known through the newspapers as well as other places that they do not have enough sheriff's officers to basically keep up the workload that they currently have. So I'm here to try and ask you, because I am incredibly worried. I have worked with the sheriff's office now ever since I've lived where I've lived for the past 5 years. I've had all sorts of things happen. I had a guy run across my lawn while I was out on my driveway and throw a ghost gun on my driveway. I'm not kidding you. You can ask somebody in the sheriff's office. I know there are bad actors that are taking advantage of this because we hear them every weekend. They are loud. They're doing their donuts on Lincoln. They're doing all sorts of stuff. And the sheriff's office cannot keep up because they don't have enough people. It's up to you now. And I'm looking particularly at Councilman Boomgarden to work with LAFCO. It is up to you, all of you, to work with the county. And I understand you don't want to have a problem, give the sheriff's office a problem by trying to do something else, but we're your constituents. We need help. This area has to become part of the Yuba City Police Department. And I'm not talking necessarily about the keyhole. It's a huge swath. It's Franklin down to Bogue, from Walton over to, or actually from 99 over to Sanborn. It's a huge area. If the people in the keyhole want to stay in the county, then let them get covered by the sheriff's office. That's not why I bought a house in Yuba City. Because I had a possibility of buying a house in that area, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. I bought in Yuba City. I didn't know at the time that it was covered by the sheriff's office. It says Yuba City Police Department, Beat 6. I didn't know that. And this brings me to Vice Chair Kirchner. So if everything goes as planned, you will be mayor next year. And I am actually a bit worried about that because just seeing how you're at the chair at SPUFCA meetings, the people need to speak into the mic. You need, as the chair, to tell them to speak into the mic. At that one meeting where they had all the people, they spoke for 5 minutes and I couldn't hear anybody. You really need to start stepping up, and I'm expecting the 3 primary mayors to help him to make this better. And just so that you know, you have really stepped up, Mayor, and you have really run these meetings very well for the past maybe 4 or 5 months. In the beginning, it was difficult, and I understand this transitional period, but you've really stepped up, and I just have to tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Langley, at some point, whether it be through your office or one of the council members or PD, could we possibly let Ms. Essman know, because we've been working on that for 20 years, that we haven't been sitting idly by trying to transition that? Maybe let her know the efforts that's gone along.
That would be one option, or I'm sure there's a lot of other residents that wonder why they're not covered by PD.
Okay.
So we could do a presentation to council to explain the master tax exchange agreement, the triggers for the police department to take over that beat, and then also talk about where we are currently in discussions to try to look at the master tax exchange agreement itself. But there's a lot of backstory to this, and so we can prepare a presentation to bring to council.
Okay. Would council entertain that at a future council meeting just to update the general public? we'll be bringing that forward so you see exactly what's been going on. So, all right. Thank you, Ms. Langley. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I'll go ahead and take your card if you'd like, and then you can go up and state your name and address, and you get to speak, sir.
Hi, my name is Stephen Smith. I live at 829 South Fulton Avenue. And I want to address, I need some help with safety issues on I know you guys are getting ready to upgrade, put sidewalks and bike paths on Walton Avenue. Oh, now.
There we go.
I want me to repeat everything? My name is Stephen Smith. I live on Walton Avenue. I know you guys are getting ready to upgrade the sidewalks and bicycle paths on the west side, but there are none now, and it's being used for passing lanes. The bicycle area is being used for passing lanes, and it's very dangerous, and people, can we get some temporary paddles or signs or something to block that, maybe between McCune and Lincoln? It's especially bad at Lincoln, because I've tried walking from Lincoln School, and people want to use that space between the brick wall and the lane of traffic to get through there. And, you know, if you got a kid or kids or something, somebody's going to get hurt. And it just seems we could put some temporary paddles, signs, get people to slow down a little bit, especially city buses and city employees could slow down a little bit. I don't think they're speeding per se, but they're going faster than the traffic needs to go in that area right now, given the state of disrepair. So if I put the word out to get people to, maybe to ask the bus drivers, school bus drivers, garbage truck, they don't, but there's a lot of traffic that goes well over 35 miles an hour, and the road's falling apart. Heavy trucks throw big chunks of asphalt into the yards. A neighbor had his window broken on his car that was parked in his driveway by a big chunk of asphalt that flew out. So you need to get people to slow down. I don't expect you to go out and make it all perfect, but if you could just consider some temporary safety measures along that route would be really nice. Even the blinking yellow lights with, on sitting on a board would be helpful. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
That's what I wanted to ask you guys.
Okay. Ms. Langley, is there anything that we would need? I know we'll need his contact information, maybe we can follow up. I do have one question for you. You said city buses. The city doesn't have buses. You talking about the transit buses,
Yeah,
the green ones?
buses.
Okay.
Transit buses and school buses.
School bus, okay.
I mean, it's an opportunity to pace the road, They're not necessarily driving unsafely, but if you could pace the road and slow it down a little bit by using existing people.
Yeah, Mr. Moody will get his contact info.
Okay, perfect. If you will give your contact information to Mr. Moody, who's right there, and then this will be something that's followed up on.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
have you been to a council meeting before, sir?
I think I spoke once about Walton Avenue very briefly, in this kind of a situation.
Like a long time ago?
Couple of years.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank you for coming here tonight and expressing your concerns, and especially in the manner in which you did it.
Oh.
I really appreciate that, and Mr. Moody will help you out right now. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Yes, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak under Agenda Item 3? Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time that council votes on the motion, unless members of the city council request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual actions. Do I have any public comments on consent calendar items 4 through 13? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, I will move it back to council for questions and/or action.
Through the mayor, move to approve consent calendar items 4 through 13.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Baumgarten, and I have a second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Consent calendar is approved. We'll move to agenda item 14. This is the annual report from the Downtown Yuba City Business Improvement District and proposed levy of annual assessment for 2023. Ms. Langley, our city manager, you have the floor, and I believe you have a few guests with you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, the item before you is the annual report from the Downtown Yuba City Business Improvement District and proposed levy of annual assessment for 2023. The staff report includes a resolution that has the actual annual report, but before you tonight are Sandy, the president of the DBA, to give a presentation of all the great things that the DBA did this last year and also talk about this upcoming year. And then at the end, I will finish with a slide that has the recommendation specific for tonight. So I'll turn it over at this point.
That's me.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you guys see me? No? Okay. Sorry. I wore my biggest heels tonight. It's a screen, yeah, it's a screen, so it's the screen. And I also wanted to introduce Judy as our new Yuba City Downtown Business Coordinator that we were lucky to hire in September. So it's been a fun learning curve for her as well. My name is Sandy Drown, and like Mrs. Langley said, I am the president of the Downtown Business Association. So the Yuba City Downtown Business Association has what we've formed as our DBA vision, which is to be known as the premier shopping, dining, and entertainment destination for the region. We also have our mission, which is to preserve, promote, encourage inspiring businesses, provide safe, clean center for culture and community life for residents and visitors alike. And so how the Downtown Business Improvement District is zoned, you'll see the orange areas, which is mostly Plymouth Street. And then you will see Zone B, which is Center Street and a lot of the off streets. And then you also have a little bit of residential in the Downtown Improvement District. Different fees depending on where you reside for those businesses. For example, for the Happy Viking, it's based on we're on Plymouth Street. We have over 10 employees, so we pay $795 to be part of the Downtown Business Association. But different businesses have different fees with that. This currently is our 2022 directors and committee members for the Yuba City Downtown Business Association. We worked really hard this last year, and as you see, there's a lot of reoccurring board members, which helps continue the efforts that we've done downtown. Here is our budget for 2022, and this was the best I could do. Sorry, I couldn't. This was the part of the PowerPoint that I could not manipulate and stretch out more. But as you see, we have our dues. Our annual dues are $29,000 that we get from all of our members. And in that, we put on two big signature events for for downtown, which is the Christmas stroll and the summer stroll. Here's a makeup of our membership, and I apologize, there is a correction on that tan area. It was supposed to be retail and restaurants. We have professional, and then we also have services as well, but it's kind of a mixture of different businesses. Our total dues are $29,000, like I had shared, and the average business down there pays about $485 per year. And here is our beautiful downtown. As you see, we just lost Cross Point, and that closed down, but we had another great business that moved in there, but it is beautiful, and I know that we're used to seeing that when we go down Plymouth Street, but we get a ton of recognition from out-of-towners that say that we have a beautiful downtown, so we're very proud of our downtown. We also have an opportunity for associated members, and associated members are businesses that are not zoned downtown but want to be part of our downtown. And so here is a snapshot of the different businesses that we partner with. We just recently brought on budget blinds for Yuba City, so we currently have 19 associated members, and they also pay a membership due. Oh, I did the chamber twice, didn't I? Okay, well. I wish. Let me work on Marnie on that one. I don't know if that one will fly. And then, so this year for 2022, let's go over the new businesses that showed up, which we had quite a bit. We had the Blue Zone, Core Cycle Fitness. I don't know if you see them, but they are very busy early in the morning and in the evening. We have E&J Music Lounge, which is open 2 days a week. He is trying to retire from his welding job so he can start doing guitar. He does guitar lessons. He repairs. We're trying to do, he's got local musicians, bands, but there's a lot of opportunity with him, and we're super excited to have him down there for some entertainment. We have Nina Hive that moved into the Huckins building. We have Plumas and Tears, which I'm sure everybody has seen, that beautiful place. And then we have Simply Divine Academy, which is a cosmetology and a barber school. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go in there, it's beautiful. And so the businesses that we had closed this year, Crosspoint Cash retired. We had Levels that moved due to rent increase. Yuba City Florist retired. And then weird one was Nina was as a new business, but they also, the owner moved out of state, was gonna have her sister run the business, and then decided to close. So we are looking for a good retail spot at the Huckins building again. And then coming soon, we've had many calls that have came in for a lot of retail to fill in those spaces. So we have about 4 prime locations right now, and we've had about 6 calls of people wanting to come downtown, which is super exciting. And then we have some other stuff that's in the works, but as you know, sometimes you have to be a little quiet about that until it comes to fruition. And here's just a picture of our beautiful downtown during our summer strolls and our Christmas strolls. We were able to have 2 complete strolls since COVID. Event successes, like I said, we had 2 full years of the summer and the Christmas stroll, which is an average of about 15,000 people we bring for each event. We are continually working on attractions for kids and adults. We continue to strengthen our partnership with the city. We've learned a lot from the city on doing events. We've met our budget and we've profited, which is a huge thing. We've gained more expertise, volunteers, which is Say Love and Just Serve, which has been super helpful. And then we do have 3 smaller events that we do, which is the Easter Bunny Hop, which is a scavenger hunt, where children go into different businesses and have to guess what that business is and goes in and gets a treat, or an egg, I'm sorry. We just recently had our trick or treat street, which we had about 1,500 kids down. And I'd like to thank our mayor, Mark and Grace, for coming down and being cross guards for us. That was very helpful. And I know next year Wade and Sean will be on the list, so.
Be contacted.
Yeah, we already have you down, so. But it was fun, and we appreciate you guys helping, because there was a lot of activities, and hopefully you guys got to enjoy being down there as well. And then we just recently did have a holiday preview where we have, that celebrates our retail down there. It's a one-day event that we do, lots of sales, lots of opportunity for people to come down and see how wonderful our downtown district is. And then one of the great things that happened this year, we got voted Best of Yuba City favorite event for 2022, which was our summer stroll. If you didn't know, now you know. All righty, and so the thank yous to the city. And Troy, I did spell his name wrong. Is he there?
He's outside.
Oh, there he is.
Officer Koski?
I spelled your name wrong, but you do have a mugshot of me, so you can post that and get me back. But we just want to thank Troy for all of his efforts. We have a ton of merchants that have concerns with our homeless. You are always available to them. And you've sat and walked. You come to our meetings once a month for them to address their concerns. You even created a flyer to kind of help us deter some of that activity. So I just want to thank you very much for all of your hard work. You're definitely a hero downtown for our DBA. Next, I'd like to thank the police department, Chief Baker, Sergeant Hawk, who helps us with our strolls, and just the police department as a whole helps us keep our businesses safe. I know, being an owner of a restaurant, anytime we've called the PD, they are right there to help us with any kind of situations that we've had. So thank you very much with that. Also fire and excitable Chief Alexander. And then our fire marshal, who helps us a lot with our strolls when we have our food vendors, making sure that they have their fire extinguishers and that we have a safe event. So thank you for educating us a lot on our events, and that's why they're successful. I know, but we should figure that out, right? Food tasting. Food tasting? Yeah. Maybe. We'll figure, yeah. I'll get back to you on that. And then Public Works, of course, Ben Moody, Scott Chandler, Jack McDaniels and the team that helps keep us safe, helps us with the road blocks downtown. Parks and Recs, Brad McIntyre and Rob, who we've got the trees, the palm trees, and all that fun stuff that we have down there. So thank you very much for that. And then, of course, our city manager, Diana, is always available for us with any questions that we ever need or concerns. And then Judy and Sierra, and I forgot to put, but I don't want him to be forgotten, is George. Is George already gone? Okay, our photographer. And then, of course, our Mayor Shaw and the City Council for your continued support to helping us continue to make sure that we have these great events. So some of the upcoming things that we have for 2023, we have 2 committees built from this board. We've been working with the city on that Caltrans $2 million grant. We did help assist with some of the verbiage in the application. We're hoping for that downtown arch on Plumas and Bridge Street, Center Street lighting, Yuba City Tower Park feature. I know that one's still being kind of worked through, and then some other possible projects downtown to make Plumas Street even better. And then we also, on the marking committee, is always talking about how to come up with more historic downtown signage so people know where we're at. Because once they're down there and on Plumas Street, they know it's historic, but like we're trying to lead them there. And then our events committee, which Judy does a lot of the work for us, is we're going to enhance our 3 small events, create some additional entertainment opportunities, and partner with other local events to be a destination so that they can throw their events downtown. And then, as you know, we've got our new coordinator. She has a great background. The reason why we did hire her is that she is great at events, and the board isn't as good as events, and so she's going to help us with that. She is a hired independent contractor for us, and so we're excited to have her. She started in September. And she's had to get her feet really wet.
Yeah, busy time of the year, especially with the Christmas stroll coming up here in just a few weeks.
So, and we're excited. So we do a newsletter every month, and so we were able to announce and introduce her to all of our merchants. And then this year, for 2023, we are excited because we have 3 new board members, which is important because you get new ideas, as you guys all know. It's great to have continued board members, but it's great to have some new blood there as well. And I think south of Plumas Street was really an area where we knew we needed some help and some leadership to kind of help us really zone in and do well. So that is our board for 2023. We just officially went through that process last 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Their installation coming up in December, which I still need a couple RSVPs from.
Yes.
From council.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we hope to see all 5 of you on December 1st at Sopatai at 6 p.m. with your spouses. And then that is it. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Questions? No, ma'am. Thank you so much. Pardon the French, but you guys do a hell of a job down there. It's been great to see what's happened with all of the strolls coming back and the people being excited and being there. It just keeps getting better every year. So thank you. I know you guys really care about this community. So Andy, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate your support. It really couldn't do it without that partnership, so thank you very much. I also have some newsletters I hope that we can share with as well.
And as I was doing this, I will be there on the 1st. I didn't know I had to RSVP. I was just told I had to be there, so, but I'm coming.
Assume, yes, that it had to be there, not an ask.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, all right, thank you. Ms. Langley?
All right, so here's the recommendation before you tonight. So adopt a resolution accepting and approving the 2022-2023 annual report for the Downtown Yuba City Business Improvement District, and adopt a resolution of intention to levy and collect 2023 annual assessments and set a public hearing for December 20th, 2022.
All right, this is our annual business we have to do. It's routine in nature. Any questions from the council? Hearing none, I'll take it to you for action then. Actually, wait a minute. Any comments from the public? I'm sorry. Almost forgot it. Attorney shaking his head, yes. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, now I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution of intention to levy and collect 2023 annual assessments and set a public hearing for December 20th, 2022.
I have a motion, and I have a second. I have a motion by the vice mayor, second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Langley.
Thank you. Before I leave, I just want to say one thing about Sandy. Sandy's enthusiasm and her passion for the downtown and just how much she cares. Enough can't be said about how much she cares, and she is in the perfect role, and we're so happy to have her as the president of the DBA. So thank you, Sandy.
Absolutely. All right. With that, we'll move on to agenda item 15, which is repeal and replace the massage establishment and therapist ordinance by title only. Lieutenant Brazel. Brazil.
There you go.
All right.
Good evening, council. I'm here to talk about repealing and replacing the existing massage establishment and therapist ordinance that we have in place. The current ordinance that we have adopted was put into place in March of 2017. At that time, it was designed to provide orderly regulation of the massage therapists and massage establishments. My proposal is to repeal and place the existing ordinance because it will provide greater ease of enforcement, additional clarity to the ordinance, and added enforcement with permit revocation and administrative penalties. The fiscal impact or alternatives, there is a possible fiscal gain for administrative penalties for violations of the ordinance, and it will provide greater direction as to any additional change to the ordinance, or we take no action. So I recommend that we introduce an ordinance to the City Council of the City of Yuba City, repeal and replace the Yuba City Municipal Code Section 5-3.01 by title only and waive the first reading. Now I'm short and sweet, so I'm turning it over to questions for you, gentlemen and lady.
Thank you, and I apologize. I knew a teacher that had Brazil, but it's Brazil. My apologies. Yep. Anyway, is there any, before we open the public hearing, is there any questions from the council? Yes.
Lieutenant Brazil.
Thank you.
Could you please, is there any additional changes other than administrative penalties and the ability to revoke permits?
Those were the major changes that we did. There were some minor word changes that we did, but those were the two main enforcement actions that we wanted to add to this ordinance is the permit revocation abilities that we would have and having administrative penalties for violations which we didn't have in place before.
Surprised all that wasn't in there the first time, but great idea. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the council before we open the public hearing? All right. With that, the public hearing to repeal and replace the massage establishment and therapist ordinance by title only is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on the issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comment at this public hearing? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and bring this back to council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce an ordinance to repeal and replace Yuba City Municipal Code, Title 5, Chapter 3, to include administrative penalties, revocation of permits, and clarity of the ordinance for massage establishments / therapist by title only, and waive the first reading.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Kirchner and a second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, council. Have a good evening.
Right, we'll move on to agenda item 16, which is the Emergency Operations Plan. And I know Chief Alexander has waited for this day for about 8 months, I think. Chief, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. On several occasions, I've spoken to you regarding the 6-step plan for emergency preparedness. We've made great strides on items 1 through 5. I do want to emphasize tonight item 3. 2 months ago, we transitioned from our micro evacuation zones to an emergency zone mapping system called Zone Haven. It is important for the community to become familiar with the Know Your Zone campaign on Zone Haven. And if you visit the Yuba City website or the fire department website, you can locate a very well done presentation by George Barlow on this specific topic. But the primary reason I'm talking to you tonight is regarding our emergency operations plan. A draft was presented to council on September 20th with an additional review process of up to October 31st. Tonight, I'm presenting a proposed final emergency operations plan, also known as an EOP. I like to use acronyms sometimes. So the purpose of an EOP is to establish an organizational framework to ensure an orderly response to mitigating any type of emergency or disaster. The intent of this emergency operations plan is to act as a living document that will serve as a primary guide for emergency response within the city. There are quite a few components of a well-done emergency operations planning that include continuity of operations plans, local hazard mitigations plan, an emergency operations plans, which tonight, and then hazard appendices, which is also part of the staff report, vendor lists, resource directory, and MOUs and side letters. This EOP has these 10 basic components that outline the primary EOP. And then the components, the hazard appendices is also attached that outline what we should do in any of the event of these disasters or those components. So before I get into that one, oops. Uh-oh. What happened?
He jumped out. Meeting's done.
Sorry. So well, good point. So staff decided to conduct this project in-house versus hiring an outside consultant. There's lots of pros and cons to doing such an endeavor, but I feel like we were able to tailor this emergency operations plan to the city, and staff is very proud of the final product. We recently attempted to calculate the committed staff hours to putting together this project. And just for myself and Chief Hubbard, we are well over 360 hours of staff time dedicated to this. So staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the City of Yuba City's emergency operations plan. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Before I open it up to the council, I just want to extend my heartfelt thank you on this, because I know that's something that we talked about as a council as far back as 4 years ago about this needed to be addressed. Councilmember Boomgarden was really just set on this from his prior experience being chief and stuff, that we needed to have this, and you guys have stepped up. So my tremendous thanks to you and your team for doing this. Job well done.
Thank you.
With that, anything from the council?
Yeah, through the mayor. Estimate of the cost savings. I think this is important for people to understand. I know it was a burden on the department, but this would have cost roughly.
Roughly, when we started exploring this avenue, you get different costs from different consultants, but it would have been in that neighborhood between 40 to 60. But this one, we initially, 40, 60,000. We initially started this was quite a while back. I can assume, based upon the inflation costs and just the demands during the COVID, that price would have risen quite a bit just due to the loads that are out there from consultants. So I would say in the neighborhood of 60,000.
Appreciate that. I think that's, again, I think this city staff continually excels at taking a look at options to best utilize their time and efficiency and their professionalism. And this is an example to me. As the mayor said, and I know Councilwoman Espandola had the same priorities of trying to make sure that we took a good hard look at our emergency planning efforts, especially this was on the heels of the Oroville, Lake Oroville, whatever you want to call it. Well, I was going to call it debacle, but I think that, the efforts that the complete city staff has taken in trying to update its emergency plan, and I know your efforts as recent as the Sikh Parade in trying to bring some planning to something that has been very difficult to do are well recognized. My only comment is exercise. I mean, a plan is only as good as it's trained on and as it's actually used and then evaluated and then amended if needed. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Harris?
Chief, thank you very much. The 360 hours is very clear in reading through this plan. I tell you, getting down to some of the details and whatnot, it was very impressive, the things you thought of. I reiterate Councilmember Boomgarden's comment that exercise and practice is extremely important, as is for those of us who are responsible for implementing that plan, that we remain current and actually read it and pay attention to it, because you do not have time to thumb through the tabs and look what to do right when the event happens. So it's extremely important to be thoroughly familiar with it. I would, you may already have this on your mind, but I think as far as a natural disaster goes, it seems to be the most likely thing here would be a slow rise water event. And for folks to be informed where do they fit into the plan, what can they expect from the city or whomever, Code Red, in the event of that happening, so they know what to do. Not just us, but the community itself would be, I think, very helpful. It's probably already planned, but.
So behind the scenes, we're constantly continuing to develop our overall comprehensive emergency preparedness planning, everything down to smaller details in regards to EOC activation of making sure everything plugs in and works, to much a grander scale where today even we had a meeting in regards to a water flood event, how that would look in regards to unified incident command with county individuals, Levy district personnel. So we're constantly having those discussions, and we've also created a quarterly meeting that involves city and county management, specifically on emergency preparedness and planning. So we are working along those sections, but for the community's knowledge, the most important thing is to make sure that you, one, are registered for Code Red, because that is the best way for us to get our message out. So we can go directly to you with the message that we want you to know. And then second, which I understand can be a little bit confusing, is zone haven, which those are two different things, but knowing your zone and knowing what's expected of you in your zone, whether it's an advisory, an evacuation order, or a shelter-in-place component, where we have the ability to provide as much information as possible. We just have to be able to direct it at that individual, because we don't want to get into a situation where it's a one blanket statement for everybody, because then that's not the appropriate plan when we get into emergency preparedness. So the more specific and more surgical we can be, the better.
If we have any way to maybe do and again, forgive me if this is already in the plan, but to get the word out to folks, the workaday residents of Yuba City, some of that jargon ahead of time. So this is a what if. If this happens, you can expect this, and by the way, sign up for, code red and whatnot. But so they know ahead of time what that means.
So we've done, in the past, I'd say roughly about a year ago, we sent out a flyer via the utility bills, and we also created pamphlets distributed to businesses that outlined what an evacuation order means versus warning versus a shelter in place. And then most recently, George Barlow did a fantastic job of putting together a plan for Know Your Zone that also went out in utility bills. So we're doing the absolute best to try to get those messages out, because yes, it is important for a person to understand the difference between an order and warning and the expectations associated with that.
All right, thank you. And then just one last thing. We all have hard copies and whatnot. We have, and by definition, it's a living document. Is there a mechanism in place to provide updates when things change? Yet. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Done. Good enough. I get it. That's just important. We don't want to be looking up outdated info later. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm not going to put you on the spot, but that's just something I'm thinking of.
I anticipate things just occurring because I know that it's not a perfect plan. It's not going to be, and there's going to be things that pop up. So I know that we're going to make changes throughout, but it's built into the thought process that, hey, every 5 years we're evaluating this, dissecting it. But yes, we'll be creating some hard copies that will go to each department, but I truly like to live in the electronic component where we can make those changes relatively rapidly.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Ms. Langley.
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Harris, I just want to clarify, what I heard you say is you're looking for an education campaign specific to slow rise flood plan, so that we can get out to, because that's the most likely incident to occur, to get that out to the public in terms of what they would expect to hear during the implementation of that plan. Is that what you were looking for?
Well, I'm not sitting here mandating it, but I would think that would be a good way to get people to practice and be familiar with something like that.
Okay. We can
and beyond pamphlets and whatnot, I mean, go out, and if we have to knock on doors and say, hey, what's your zone? And we get a blank stare, we got a problem. Let's try to fix that as much as we can. Sounds like we're already well on the way, but I think that example being the most likely scenario would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, because some people also may not understand the different stages of the river and what that means. And so, okay, we can work on that.
All righty.
To the mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Very well done, impressive on the amount of time that, and thanks to the team of working, because you took the leadership, but you had an amazing team helping you pull all this together. What I thought was really impressive of the plan, and aligned to the comments about exercise, that was done within the Sikh Festival Parade. You utilized some of these components of the plan to initiate the way that it's designed to be utilized. So as one of the council, I'm sure we all saw that. But what I thought was really interesting, and I appreciate that your team did this and you really made it happen, is those reports that were done on Facebook, communicating with the community, that people can easily, it doesn't matter where you're at, you can log into Facebook, because most people have some sort of Facebook account. That's how people communicate. And so you're utilizing social media in a way to communicate those things that traditional kind of ways, like we done always, you know, the utility bill, like I get the bill and I look at the bill, I don't look at the actual document. Sometimes people just throw those things away, but we're making the efforts. You're making the effort as the chief, and I thought that was really, really good. Can you expand a little bit about that presentation that you organized? Because you had all those individuals. I mean, every single component we talk about, if there's an emergency, that's an exercise that we just did. And how did that go?
So as one of the 6 steps on there is testing the system and training. And we try to implement as many times as we possibly can when things come up to test the system, both internally and externally. And so using the Sikh Parade as an example, there's a lot of planning, organization, agencies involved in an event of that magnitude. So if we don't test that system and be as transparent as possible, it's really a detriment to us. And so we do a tabletop exercise for the Sikh Parade, but we also feel it's kind of important for the community to realize, similar to what you've seen by incident management teams on large wildland incidents, because the more information, the more comfortable people are. And when you have an event of that magnitude, to see the organization that went into it, the professionalism, and that all of the agencies out there have a plan and that we're working under unified incident commanders under the incident command system, it builds confidence and trust. And so that's a major reason why we live streamed the ops briefing, which is our overall plan, and so the community knows the players in each one of those positions.
Yeah, and I also understand that during that, it gave opportunity to some of our staff from fire or police or other departments in the county or emergency ambulance-wise to practice some of that it hasn't been done, and perhaps in a coherent, well-organized manner that it had. I don't think it's been done as well prior to this event. And so it was good to observe that. And I'm really proud of the fact that you've worked so hard to get this done for us, and with these new technology systems that you're utilizing to keep community involved and understand their response and their own piece of the responsibility, which is really, really important. And I also like that the handbook, the operation plan is electronic. So it's available for the city electronically to be updated immediately. So staff it doesn't matter where you're at, you're gonna be able to access updates within an electronic version as well as a hard copy that is critical. So just wanna really commend you for keeping us up to date and working hard on this issue, which is really, really important.
So it's an overall arching team, and it's a testament in regards to the ops briefing of the importance of our involvement also in the mutual aid system that we go out, because a lot of those skill sets were brought back by individuals that are out on master mutual aid wildland incidents. They learn those skills in regards whether it's public information officer, safety officer. They bring those skill sets back, and we're able to implement them in our community and be that example. So much so that we even had another fire agency send personnel down to gain experience on how we build our organization structure and our ops briefing.
And that's the point that is really important for our community to know that we are becoming and will become the example and the practice that other cities will look towards on these particular emergency operation plans and our fire departments and policing. So thank you so much for doing such great work and taking care of us.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Great job, Chief. You've heard it from everybody up here. A lot of hard work. Thank you. Just a quick comment to the city manager. With the Know Your Zone, maybe we could integrate that with some of the town hall districts meetings. We implement that with the town hall, so just a suggestion. Thank you.
All right, before I open it up for public comment, based upon what I've heard tonight, just a couple of things. Chief, we've talked several times, you guys have been having tabletops left and right. The ultimate goal, we were hoping for this fall, but it didn't happen, but it doesn't matter just as long as it happens. Real world exercise, maybe sometime in the spring,
I anticipate it being sooner based upon our action items that we have set aside for the fire department to be sooner rather than later, sooner than the spring component. Just some unique challenges have come up in the last few months that make that a little bit more challenging, but it is ready to, it's not ready to go yet, but we have been doing other tabletop exercises in addition.
Okay, awesome. And I was going to save these comments for later, but I'll go ahead and throw them in now because Councilwoman Espandola brought up the Sunday morning briefing for the Sikh Festival. Reminded me of my days in the military. Incredible job of leadership by you and your team. You guys led the way. You guys had, it was a machine. It was really impressive. I haven't seen that organization since I was in the military a long time ago. I just hope that our partners in the community will see the importance of being there and being a part of those briefings and being an integral part, because being a person that was there, there were some key people that weren't there, not city, but there were some key people that weren't there. And this is just step one of a lot further. But thank you for leading. Thank you for what you guys are doing. So let's get back to the EOP. And does anybody, we'll open up public comment. Is there any comments from the public on the EOP? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? All right, we'll bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
move to adopt a resolution approving the City of Yuba City EOP plan, or the EOP plan. I'm saying it over and over. EOP, go.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Espandola and a second by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Again, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
So, moving on to item 17, Fire Prevention Ordinance and the adoption of the 2022 California Fire Code based on the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code. Mr. Frias?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Turn your mic on, please. There you
Say
go.
that again. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. So tonight we're going to talk about the triennial event, the triennial process for the code adoption, for the 2022 code adoption. I'll take you into a little bit of the process here. Title 24, the California Code of Regulations, consisting of multiple parts, including the California Building and Fire Codes, undergo a triennial adoption process, starting with the International Code Council, ultimately concluding at the local government level with us here at Yuba City. The final step of the code adoption process provides the local governments with the ability to modify the minimum standards adopted by the state agencies to create regulations tailored to serve the needs of our community. These modifications shall be more stringent than the state minimum regulations based upon climactical, geological, topographical conditions. The triennial code cycle, we are proposing no additional local amendments. We are only requesting we move existing amendments forward from the current ordinance. Those amendments include the installation of sprinkler systems required in commercial buildings greater than 3,599 square feet. This has been in our, excuse me, this has been in our amendment, or it's been in our, in our local ordinance since 1992, and thanks to Chief Boom on that, because he was one of the authors of that. Permits required from the fire department for the sale of safe and sane fireworks. This requirement has also been in our local amendment since 2003. Permits required from the fire department to install security gates across fire department access roads. This requirement has also been in a local amendment since 2003. There are no substantial changes in the state code. Most of the changes are editorial, clarification, and/or relocations into different sections. There is no fiscal impact for the locally adopted amended portions, minimal for the state mandated sections. Recommendations to introduce an ordinance repealing and reenacting Chapter 5, Title 4 of the Yuba City Municipal Code, entitled Fire Prevention, and waive the first reading.
All righty, thank you, sir. Is there any questions from the council? Any questions from the council? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. The public hearing on the fire prevention ordinance and the adoption of the 2022 California Fire Code based on the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment and state your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council for action. Chief, you're up, I guess.
Chief, boom. Yep. Through the mayor, I'd like to introduce an ordinance, move to introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yuba City, repealing and reenacting Chapter 5 of Title 4 regarding fire prevention and the 2021 International Fire Code by title only and waive this the first reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Baumgarten, a second by Councilmember Espandola. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion carries. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir. We'll go on to agenda item 18, Building Regulations Ordinance and the adoption of the 2022 edition of the California Building Code Standards, or California Building Standards Code. It's a tongue twister tonight. Mr. Libby, you have the floor.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Mayor, Council, good evening. Thank you. As you noted, this is going to be an update to the state building code that is here for adoption. As kind of was introduced to you by the fire marshal, the State Building Standards Commission adopts new codes, which cities and counties are mandated to adopt. These codes are updated every 3 years and applies statewide equally to all cities and counties. The benefit of having a 3-year cycle is it allows for codes to improve over time, allows to adjust for the newest building materials and methods of construction and new technologies. Now, should a jurisdiction not act to adopt the updated codes, they do become effective by default under state law. However, one of the benefits of adopting it is it allows for amendments to the administrative portions of the code specific to Yuba City. And although no new amendments to our code are proposed at this time, they could be in the future if deemed necessary. So a few of the noteworthy changes in this code cycle. Traditionally, building permits, once they're issued, have a 6-month life. And if you call for a building inspection, that permit would be extended for an additional 6 months. Due to COVID economic factors, which include labor shortages, supply chain issues, and other economic factors, building permits are going to be extended, have an initial life of 1 year instead of 6 months. And then within that 1 year, if you call for an inspection, then your building permit can be automatically extended by an additional year. And although solar is already required for new homes, they will now be required to be, homes will need to have battery storage ready. The code provides for several options to accomplish this. I think what we feel is going to be the most, the easiest way to be compliant is to install the conduit in order to accommodate future battery storage should that be desired. Another new change in the code includes pre-wiring homes to accommodate electric heat pump space heaters, electric clothes dryers, and electric cooktops. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot install natural gas appliances today. It's just going to mean that they're going to have to install the electric infrastructure. New homes, both single-family and multifamily, will be required to have whole home surge protection devices. And this requirement is also triggered when a homeowner upgrades their electrical service. Now, this would be, as you typically would know, that most of us have some type of a surge protection device we would have at our desktop computer or with our laptop. Well, this, as the state moves towards electrification, this would protect the entire home. Staff has done little research on what's available in the market today, and the added cost for this right now is looking right around $200, is to provide an entire home surge suppressor system. What's important in these code cycles is outreach to our development community, and we intend to be doing that. We've actually already started that. We would be distributing information to builders, local engineers, the Yuba City Builders Group, Valley Contractors Exchange, and the Building Industry Association, as well as having information at our front counter, as well as well as the Development Services website. So the introduction recommendation is to introduce the ordinance, which would repeal chapters 1 through 14 of Title 7 of our municipal code and reenact the same chapters by reference to adopt the new codes by title only and waive the first reading. So that would conclude my comments, unless you have any questions.
Is there any questions from the council? Okay. No questions from the council, so we will go ahead and open the public hearing. The public hearing on the Building Regulations Ordinance and adoption of the 2022 edition of the California Building Standards Code is now open. If there are any members of the public who'd like to address the council on this issue, please provide your name and address and make your statement for the record. Do we have any public comments on this item? Any public comments on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and move this back to the council for action.
Through the mayor. Do I have to read the whole thing, city? That's why you all were looking at me like, yeah, let's get her to read this. Through the mayor, I move to introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yuba City, repealing chapters 1 through 14 of Title 7 in the Yuba City Municipal Code, reenacting chapters 1 through 14 of Title 7, adopting by reference, or could I have the city attorney read the entire and then as my motion? He's much faster, watch.
Adopting by reference the 2022 California Building Code, 2022 California Electrical Code, 2022 California Mechanical Code, 2022 California Plumbing Code, 2022 California Energy Code, 2022 California Historical Code, 2022 California Existing Building Code, 2022 California Reference Standards Code, 2022 California Residential Building Code, 2022 California Green Building Standard Cal Green Code, 2021 Uniform Swimming Pool, Spa, and Hot Tub Code, et cetera, with certain amendments, additions, and deletions thereto by title only, and waive the first reading.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, whoa. That was well timed.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
On that, I think we need to give him a round of applause for reading that fast. So, I'm telling you, but we're not in New York.
Yuba City.
All right. I have a motion by Councilmember Espandola, second by Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Libby, that moves. So we are on to number 19, expedited permitting for electric vehicle charging systems, ordinance update pursuant to Assembly Bill 970.
So Mayor, Council, before we get into this item, I wanted to thank Heather Espin for her keen eye, as I think at the start of the meeting, she brought to our attention a very minor typo in the ordinance that I would like to make a correction on. So in the section 7-17.04 B1, in the first sentence, towards the end of the sentence, there's reference in the language, it says complete or issued a written deficiency notice. Where it says complete, we need to actually have that say incomplete. So that would be an amended ordinance as reflected by staff when you make a motion. Okay, so this item, to give you a little history, it was back in 2018 where the City Council adopted an ordinance to implement the provisions of Assembly Bill 1236 that required all cities and counties to establish procedures for expedited, streamlined processing of electric vehicle charging systems. In 2021, the governor signed into law Assembly Bill 970. It builds on the requirements of the previous legislation for jurisdictions having a population of less than 200,000, which we fall under. The law becomes effective January 1st, 2023. Now, what the law does is that if you have a building permit application for 25 or fewer electric vehicle chargers, then local jurisdictions have to make a determination of completeness on that application within 5 business days. Now, if you have an application for more than 25 chargers, then a determination of completeness needs to be made within 10 business days. Now, if a local jurisdiction does not make a determination in writing of any deficiencies, the application is presumed to be complete under the statute. Additionally, for applications for 25 or fewer chargers. Once the time of completeness has been made, we have 20 days to approve the application. For applications of 25 or more EV chargers, then jurisdictions have 40 days to approve the application itself. Now, the law does provide provisions for the building official to be able to deny an application due to substantial evidence of a public health or safety concern if special findings are made, or to require that a use permit be obtained. So the recommendation is to introduce an ordinance amending Section 7-17.04 of Chapter 17, Title 7 of the Yuba City Municipal Code to implement the provisions of AB 970 by title only and waive the first reading. And that would conclude my comments unless you have any questions.
Great. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Boomgarden.
Mr. Libby, since, and this is in no way saying we shouldn't have electrical vehicle chargers, but this appears to be a state mandate. Are they providing your inspectors with the training necessary to inspect these required devices?
No, because we do have trained inspectors that already are trained to be able to conduct those inspections.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Okay. Hearing none, then we will move to the public hearing. The public hearing of the expedited permitting for electric vehicle charging systems ordinance update pursuant to Assembly Bill 970 is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. I do have one card. Ms. Heather Essman.
Hello, Heather Essman, City of Yuba City resident and owner of a zero-emission vehicle. A few months ago, I brought in some paperwork to show to you the progress, or whatever you want to call it, from those vehicles that are starting to come into the market. The best estimate that I could find online was we have over 600 registered zero-emission vehicles right now in Sutter County. And as I've said multiple times, we only have 3 places you can charge, one of which is a Tesla station. So if you don't own a Tesla, you only have 2 potential. And if you don't have the right plug, like I do, you only have 1 place. I do recognize that there's some charging coming in here, but it is a little bit embarrassing that this was passed in 2018 or whatever, and started out approved in 2021, at the beginning of 2021, and we're basically at the very last minute getting this through. This also doesn't address as far as whether or not businesses, it's encouraged or we're trying to help them in any way. We don't have anything. You know, the one thing that really bugs me about all of this, and I'm sorry if this, my mannerisms are not as nice as Mr. Smith's are, but that when we were back with Boomgarden as mayor, and I addressed this back then, which was several years ago, that he said that there were businesses that had approached us asking about charging stations or something like that. He said that he had sent that information to Dave Vaughn at the time, and it died. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with it. I do know that it seems to be pretty late, since Marysville even passed there several months ago. So what? It just seems like you're business friendly on businesses that are important to you, but when it comes to the 600 vehicle, I'm going to assume that there's, maybe they have multiple vehicles, I don't know, but the 600 owners of these vehicles, where we have almost no places to charge them in town at the moment, and it doesn't seem like there's any effort from the city to increase this, except for the 2 stations that Ms. Councilwoman Espandola worked on to get through the budget, or the grant, which was actually from some other, no? He's shaking his head.
I don't think that was just Councilwoman Espandola.
Okay, then it wasn't really her anyways, because it was another entity that the grant came from.
Correct.
Correct, so.
But the inference is that we're not pushing on this, is what you stated. And
I've been told by the city that they're taking a wait-and-see attitude. And I haven't heard anything other than that at the moment. So I don't know. I'm just glad that you're actually getting this done and not on the 20th of December, which would have been like very last minute.
All righty. Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir. Please go up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Stephen Smith, 829 South Walton Avenue. I am currently a Tesla owner, and I know that the Tesla charging stations have been opened up to all cars. You just need an adapter, and that the Tesla plug head has been adopted by the National Standards Board, so that's going to be the future of that plug. That just happened in the last couple of days. So I just wanted to let people know that if they're not locked out of using a Tesla charging station, you just may need to buy an adapter, and I don't know the details of how that works, but it's supposed to work.
All right, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Oh. Did you have something else to finish, or? Oh, okay. No, you were fine, sir. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comments? Did you have something, Mr. Chaffin?
Yes, just a point of clarification. I just wanted to let the public know that the city of Yuba City actually promptly adopted a code in 2018 regarding electric vehicles to promote the EV charging stations. So it's been on the book for about the last 4 or 5 years. The city is not the one that constructs them. That's usually development, and businesses do that. What the ordinance this evening does is just speed up the processing time for that when they do come in. So you have had something on the books since 2018, and this proposed ordinance this evening just speeds up the procedural aspects of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, hearing no other public comments, I am going to close the public hearing and bring this back to the council for any comments or actions. I think you have a comment.
I do, yeah. First, I want to apologize for interrupting in the public comment process. And the reason being is I also was participating with pushing forward the grant stuff and provided that to staff. My question for staff is, are there requirements in place for businesses that mandate that they put in charging systems?
Yes. The building code requires today that new commercial businesses, and I'll just use as an example some of the hotels that have been proposed and that we've brought forward to the Planning Commission. Similar questions have been asked, and the building code actually provides a formula in a table, and we would kind of convey that information of how many EV chargers would be required to be pre-wired.
So my understanding is the same, but as far as any other businesses, only those that are currently mandated by the code are required to put in the EV systems.
Correct.
We don't have anything on the books that is going to require any other business to put those in.
Correct. There has to be a desire and a push from the public to make that happen. But I also note that I think it's pretty common knowledge in that community that, because I actually do drive since August an electric vehicle, 80% of the charging occurs at home. That's where mine occurs. And so I can say I'm proud to say that we have Electrify America, we have EVgo in Yuba City, as well as the Tesla superchargers. So those are some of the top EV charging companies in the nation right now.
So if the city really wanted to be aggressive, then we would have to provide some other additional minimum requirements or mandated requirements on business to install EV chargers, which potentially could help with this system, or we can continue to look for outside help as we have been doing.
I was participating in a webinar this morning that was put on by the state in how they are rolling out programs that are going to be encouraging charger installations statewide. With the movement of that, and it's going to be utilizing a lot of money that was approved in the federal government's infrastructure plan. So I think probably within the next few years, the number of EV chargers we're going to see in our community is going to go up dramatically.
And I appreciate that information. I saw that that seminar, wasn't able to attend it. I guess my concern is, and I'm sympathetic with those who drive EV vehicles, but that's a choice right now, okay? And to put the burden on a business that may or may not, that's a choice they get to make. And I'm all about businesses having a choice. Now, where it's mandated, great. If we can encourage it some way, and if the state's participating in that, I think that's awesome as well. But I don't know. I guess I take a little bit exception to the fact that it sounded, Heather, like you were saying we're not doing anything. I don't believe that. I think we are doing something. We may not be doing as much as you would like, and I respect that, but it's not like we're sitting on our hands. And I know Mr. Moody's got something he wants to say.
Well, I would also challenge the assumption that the city's required to accommodate chargers when it's a personal choice and they can do it at home.
Okay, I'm going to bring this back to council for comments. Is there any other comments?
No, thank you, Mayor. The idea of having these chargers, through the grant that we were able to get was a request from local business asking us that, saying, hey, we probably could do a little better by having some of these charging. And this is a local business owner who wanted to have some of these chargers. I think that's why we were able to get this grant and hopefully add some additional charging stations. I think it's important to also have, and I don't know how this is all going to pan out, because if we all have to go electric, we're having some challenges meeting those demands. And I don't know how that's going to pan out, Heather. I don't know how that's going to help with everyone else. But having those installed, stations at your home, not everyone owns their own home, so not everyone can have an electric station at their house. But there are variable options, and I hope that in this new infrastructure availability, maybe there's some subsidizing of funding to help encourage business owners who are still kind of like, I don't want to invest in that on my own dime, but maybe I can get it through the state. I mean, that might be an option that may happen. I don't know. But I'm happy for the fact that we are getting, I think, Ben and Doug, you can correct me, 3 or 4 stations online here in the next several months with the grant that we received. I'm trying to remember the numbers and the locations. I think that's something to acknowledge. And the second part is that acknowledge that we did have this ordinance in place since 2018. So we're not in competitions with other municipalities, but we're trying to move forward here. So Ben, when are those charging stations?
So regarding the charging stations, a grant was awarded for charging stations at the water tower, so the Reeves parking lot, and then the Gap parking lot. And so you're testing my memory, but my understanding is that it's 2 chargers with 4 plugs at each location. And I'll confirm that if it's different. I'll bring that up to staff. One of the big items, though, through this discussion, I just want to bring the council up to date and also the public, is that staff recognizes that this is the future. There's a big push from the state to electrify, and that's where the money's coming from. And so for us to get ahead of that, staff's actively working, Public Works Department, and then also with Development Services staff to go after an EV plan. And so we're working to coordinate what type of grant funding's out there and to look at the city to have an electrical vehicle plan. So then as money comes through, we can leverage that. So there are opportunities where we can develop possibly chargers on site by the city with available funds as we can prioritize it, or if there's opportunities to leverage that as development comes in, private development. So I just want to make sure we're not sitting on our hands and we're actively looking for opportunities to establish a plan to leverage money as it comes through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions here from the council? Okay, just like to echo and summarize some of these comments made up here. Government is supposed to be limited, and overstepping our bounds and making established businesses, as the Councilmember Boomgarden was talking about, do these on their dime is a massive overstep, in my opinion, of government authority. So with that, new businesses coming in, of course, is there. The whole problem with the EV is it was formulated, but the infrastructure's not there. And please keep in mind, we're still in the early stages of the nationwide infrastructure being built out. And it's going to be the new development coming in. It's going to be things that we do on, like at the parks that Mr. Moody just mentioned. I think you said Gap, correct? There's going to be things like that, but it's going to take a long time. And I can tell you now, our state government does not have the answer to this, nor does the federal. They're just on a road going, let's do this, and they're trying to figure it out as they go. But to Ms. Espindola's point is, if there's grant money and stuff available, then employers that already have an establishment might be willing to go ahead and do that, because it's not having to come out of their pocket to help accommodate people. So please be patient. We're all on this journey together. And there's not a single person out there that has the answer. So with that, I'm going to bring it back to council for action.
Through the mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to introduce the ordinance of the City Council of Yuba City amending section with the amendments of the additional wording as stated by Doug Levy. Section 7-17.04 permit application processing of Chapter 17, Title 7 of the I'm trying to be like our city over there, but of the Yuba City Municipal Code to implement the provisions of Assembly Bill 970 by the title only and waive the first reading.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion by Councilmember Espindola, a second by Councilmember Boomgarden. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Libby, thank you. We'll go on to agenda item 20. The declaration of the surplus land, surplus housing agency to Yuba City Redevelopment Agency properties. And I need to make the announcement that this is the successor housing agency to the redevelopment agency, successor agency to the redevelopment agency item. So now that that's all perfectly clear, Ms. Langley, you have the floor.
Thank you. So we've brought several of these reports prior related to the Surplus Land Act. What's unique about this one is it's related to the Successor Housing Agency. And so in February of 2012, the Redevelopment Agency established the Successor Housing Agency. From 2008 through 2010, the Redevelopment Agency had purchased 18 homes through the Homes to Families program, which was targeted for low mod income families to be able to rent those homes. Currently, we are down to 9 homes, and they are managed by the Regional Housing Authority. And again, they are for low to moderate housing, income housing options. So with the Surplus Land Act, again, we are required to go through this process to dispose of the properties. In 2019, Governor Newsom expanded it, and so we have this long extended process that we need to go through. I checked with the state in regard to, it seemed odd that you would need to go through the Surplus Land Act for single-family properties that have single-family dwellings on them, but they are not exempt from this process. And so even though the properties seem to be not developable, we still have to go through the Surplus Land Act process. Here are the 9 properties that are still in the program. The ones highlighted in yellow are currently vacant. And so with the action tonight of declaring all 9 properties surplus, we will actually only be moving forward with the process of disposition for the 3 highlighted ones. As the other properties become vacant, then we would initiate the Surplus Land Act disposition process for those as well. Here's the map that shows the location. You can see generally on the north side of town, kind of clustered around Queens Avenue. These were homes that were either in the foreclosure process or were for sale. And then also you have kind of spread out in the south part of town, south of Highway 20. A few of the original 18 homes were located on the north side of Bridge Street when we purchased those for the future expansion of Bridge Street. And so with the demo of those homes, the city purchased those and reimbursed the money. So alternatives are to not declare the properties as surplus and work with the Regional Housing Authority to go ahead and lease those 3 vacant properties, or only proceed with declaring the 3 vacant properties as surplus. With this, the proceeds from the sale would go into the city's low mod income fund. And what the city has done with those funds in the past is you agreed to provide a portion of those funds to Regional Housing Authority for their apartment complex at Richland Housing. You have some discretion as to what happens with this money. It just needs to go towards affordable housing. And so the proceeds would go into that, and then council would decide how those proceeds are going to be spent. And so the recommendation tonight is to adopt a resolution declaring the properties as surplus and then directing me to follow the procedures set forth in the Surplus Land Act for the sale of each property. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, is there any questions from the council? No questions? Just want to make sure it's reiterated, we are not removing anyone from a home. It's only the 3 vacant properties
Correct.
we're doing anything right now.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So no other comments from the council. I'll open it to public comment. And Ms. Essman, you have turned in a card. You're good? Okay. Is there any other public comment on this item? Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to adopt a resolution declaring certain Successor Housing Agency-owned properties to be surplus land and direct the city manager to follow the procedures set forth in the Surplus Land Act for the sale of such properties.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion by the vice mayor, second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Langley. I'll go to agenda item 21. Does the council have any future agenda items they wish to bring up at this time?
I do.
Yes, sir.
For a future agenda and at a date not yet defined is the subject of signage during political campaigns.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the council? All right. And do you have any questions on that, Ms. Langley? Are you good? Okay. All right. Then we'll move on to agenda item 22, our city manager's report. Ms. Langley.
So in that vein, on January 26th, we are scheduling a special council workshop in which we're going to talk about the council's goals, but we also have several specific topics that we are going to discuss, one of which staff is proposing to talk about political campaign signs, to have that discussion. We will also be talking about speeding, sideshows, 4th of July fireworks, boats, RV storage, mobile vendors, city trees, raised sidewalks, and now campaign signs. So it's going to be a very intense conversation about things that through this election process, as individuals have walked different districts, there's been a lot of things that have come to the forefront in terms of what's of interest to the residents. And so we want to talk about that. And then we will close the session with discussing again the council's goals. And so it'll be, like I said, January 26th, pretty much all day, I believe, from 9 to 3 is what we're currently scheduling. Also, the next council meeting on December 6th will be ceremonial, in that will be the changeover of the mayor, vice mayor, and then if we have certified election results, it would also be the other council members. I just want to note, last night we had the PD Citizens Academy graduation, 20 graduates. I think that's one of the largest classes that they've had. And congratulations to Drew Mitchell on getting through her first academy, and congratulations to the police department on a successful academy. They are asking for individuals to apply for the next one, which will start early next year. Also, the Senior Center, congratulations to Jessica and the Senior Center on the Senior Resources Day that occurred, the Senior Commission. That was a fantastic setup, fantastic turnout. It was really great to be able to see all of the resources that are available to seniors within our community. And then finally, I would just like to say, City Hall is closed next week for the Thanksgiving holiday, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I can't believe I'm saying that because it doesn't feel like it should be that late in the year, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Espandola, move on to your report.
Thank you, Mayor. I can't believe we are in the Thanksgiving season. So I attended the Feather River Air Quality Management it was a financial policy reviewing on grants. So hopefully some information on those particular grants will come out through their agency. I was also the alternate, I believe, for LAFCO. That was quite an interesting meeting. Mayor, it's like who's on first, what's on second, and are you supposed to be here? Are you not supposed to be here? That was half of the meeting, it seemed. So thankfully, Councilmember Boomgarden is the lead on that group. So thank you for picking a really interesting day for me to cover for you. And the rest of the other items are Regional Water Authority. There's review on changes of elections within the authority, staffing, and we had a meeting yesterday with Trevor. I'm trying to remember the gentleman's last name. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's from Regional Water Authority, connecting the new technical manager who met with Diana and I to make sure that we are getting the most services that we can through RWA, similar to what we do with other organizations like GSAC and all the other groups, to make sure that our city is getting what we need in technical support, potential grants, funding, besides grants, and some compliance and, best practices and abilities to hire good staffing in our public works. And so that was a nice meeting yesterday. And so I just want to thank the community for all your wonderful, wonderful opportunities here in this last election round. Boy, it's been an interesting ride the last 4 or 5 months, I have to say. And I'm just really, really proud of our city. I think the staff who works here, we have an amazing leader, Diana, and I'm not saying that because I'm biased, along with our group here, that we all hired the best woman for the job, and I'm really proud of that. So I just want to say that thank you, community, for voting, stepping out and doing your best work. And we'll see what happens here in the next several weeks. We still have some votes to be counted. We're a slow community of votes, and the state of California is slow on the count. But there's a couple already that maybe look pretty good on the dais here on the last election. So, but I just want to say thank you. I think it's really important to know that I, as a candidate, not just as the elected person at this point, is that we wanted to do something really good to bring positive message, understanding the good work that we're doing as a city, and keeping to that integrity and valuing community. And so whatever that outcome may be, I just want you to know that we're going to keep doing the same work. We're not changing or shifting it because it's important just to get the vote or get the recognition for the moment. And so I am proud to be part of this group, and I'm proud of our city of Yuba City, and thank you so much for all those individuals that took the time to vote, and please keep doing that, not just in this election, but in future ones, and we can get the right people in the right places. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, going through my stuff today, I pretty much have a negative report. I do want to mention, though, that I was able to attend the Back the Badge gala a few days ago. It was their first annual. and they did a really, really good job in support. The whole organization is in support of our local law enforcement personnel. And they do a really good job stepping up in times of serious need and support. It's a really good organization. They put together a really good event. Hard Rock Casino did an outstanding job as always. And I was happy to be there. So other than that, nothing really at this time.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Baumgarten.
Pretty short and sweet. I would echo Councilwoman Espandola. It was important to get out and listen to the public. I had a question from someone, and they said, how come you guys don't do this all the time? And, you know, it kind of struck me. And on that note, one of the things that we did for this budget cycle was to earmark some money to do individual town halls and try to reach out to the public in each one of the relatively newly established districts. So, you know, I look forward to whoever's sitting up here taking advantage of that and getting out in front of the public and speaking with them and hopefully people will attend. You know, that's always a big question, is whether or not people will show up. I had the opportunity to attend last night, the police volunteer, and as it was mentioned before, it was 20 very enthusiastic, and there was a good vibe in the room from these folks, and they talked about their favorite classes, and I echo the acknowledgement of Drew Mitchell, who ran her first academy, and Chief Runyon. I think, again, that's a good group of volunteers you have there, and I'm sure they'll do good work, and you've got a good plan on moving forward. So I did attend the senior resource fair as well, and wow, when I walked in there, or when I drove up, you know, there was no place to park, and I was underestimated the crowd and overwhelmed by the amount of vendors and the services that are being provided. So again, and I did mention that to Jessica when she was there. It's like, man, you hit this one out of the park. And thanks to all of our senior commission members, you know, for their hand in putting that event on. And that's it. Oh, happy Thanksgiving to everybody as well.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. You got to say that. You know, before I start, Councilwoman, that was really touching what you said earlier, and I just want to say, for the record, thank you for everything that you do for the city, because I know you do care a lot about this community. So thank you for that. Well, I'll start off with the Northern Sacramento Valley Integrated Regional Water Management Authority in beautiful downtown Willows, where the only thing that's pertinent to our city is the Spiva Cooper Avenue water main project, which is moving forward. The mayor and I conducted the youth commission interviews that went well, which we voted on tonight. Great candidates, exciting candidates to have working for our city. Neat folks. Attended the Bridge Street Coffee ribbon cutting at New Earth. Attended the mandatory training, the Sikh Parade. Holy cow, what a great turnout for our community. And all the work that the city did that went into that. So thank you for all of those involved. I attended the Veterans Breakfast with my dad over there at the Elks Lodge, and then in Marysville, and then the parade afterwards, which was, again, well attended. Great to see both communities come out in support of that. Sabufka, based on recent incident, property owners on 2nd Street, the group came together and introduced and approved a policy moving forward for projects to, when we work on property issues. The goal is to do a better job, and what that looks like is you got to knock on every door. If they're not there, you come back 2 or 3 times, so we don't have the confusion that we had this last time. So that was voted on and approved. With mosquito, the numbers are down. They did approve fencing for the property over on Market Street. Other than that, not much to report. And I did attend the Back to Badge with Council Member Harris, and I apologize because I have pens for the three of you that I ran out the door and I forgot to bring, so I apologize for that. And before closing, I'd just like to say, great job. So thank you. And that's it.
All right, well, thank you, sir. Councilwoman Espandola, again, great words in the beginning. Tuesday was all about, not about us, but about the American citizen and their right to exercise their vote. So, we will continue on in some shape or fashion with 5 of us up here. Whatever those 5 will be, we'll know here in the next week and a half. And I know the city will continue on, and I can say that we've done great work up here together. So really appreciate the support from this entire team that we've had up here. Following suit with you guys, it's been a kind of more of, it seems like ceremonial time. Most meetings have gotten canceled because of various holidays and things. Ms. Assman, thank you in the beginning for your comments. I've tried to do a good job, and hopefully I've gotten better for you over the year, so thank you. I want to acknowledge that. PD, Commander, great job. I know you said you met the recruits that night because the chief was here when the class started, but your team and Drew did a phenomenal job talking about the great classes. SWAT came up, but the one thing that Councilmember Boomgarden forgot to tell you is when somebody said that their favorite class was fire, there was an applause right back there where he was standing. So I think there was some partiality there. The Sikh Festival was great. It was great seeing our community come together, and it was, I know, an honor for us to honor that part of our community and see that flourish. So congratulations on that, and thank you for letting us be a part. Veterans Day was in there. Veterans Day is real special to myself, being a vet, but to see everything that's happened, how people got honored, tremendous. And appreciate the city's efforts and the council's efforts there. And the Youth Commission, like you said, great group that came together, and looking forward to see what they do going forward, because our youth got disconnected during COVID and basically stayed at home, and we need to get them re-engaged in this community because it's not healthy just to sit at home and be isolated. So that was kind of the message that we conveyed to them during the interview process, was part of why do you want to be a part of this? What do you think you can do? And then, if you can take this away and talk to Mr. McIntyre, great ideas, but get our youth re-engaged, get them back into the community, because it's a shame that they've kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, or feel like they fell by the wayside because of the impacts of COVID. So with that, we're getting out of here before 8:30. It has been my pleasure the past 12 months. And this is the regular city council meeting and the successor housing agency to the redevelopment agency and the successor agency to the redevelopment agency. Meetings are both adjourned.
Happy birthday, Mark.